crazy.
Yeah.
But girl, everything already.
That's right.
You know?
You're ready for it, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
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 He's got the camera up there now.
Is that your daughter or is it? I don't know.
Son.
Oh, that's your son.
Son,
Okay. I know what.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah, I'm gonna say, even when I had my kids, and they're a boy and a girl, and they're 3 years apart,
Yeah.
I'd have sometimes somebody say, "Were they twins? What about them?"
Yeah.
Makes you think they're twins.
One's 8 and one's 11.
That's right.
My twin and I, we actually don't favor at all. She's pretty light complected. She has blue eyes, freckles.
Yeah.
And I have a sister that's 2 years older, dark complected, brown
Yeah.
eyes. So everybody thinks that her and I are the twins.
Oh, yeah.
Not my twin.
Right.
We had pretty big my class.
Yeah.
And I thought they were stepsisters. They looked so much. They're both boys, but I mean, the one in my class is like, he's like real dark, like his real curly hair, and like he's, kind of chubby. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
And the other one is little, straight hair, light brown, light skin. I mean, I thought they were.
Wow. Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. It's okay. You're good. What do you?
Good morning. Good morning. How are y'all? Good. How are you?
Morning.
Hoping to see those babies lately. Not this weekend. More this coming weekend. So how are they? How are the parents doing? Parents are rocking it. Oh, that's all. A lot of babies. A lot of babies. Ew.
Right up with fall break.
Wait, it's a beach.
What's that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Way to do it with kids.
Adam says no adults do. That's wonderful.
Traffic,
You drive, when they're asleep, you find yourself driving fast.
I'm myself, trying to keep my eyes on. When they're awake, I'm trying to drive faster. Or into traffic or something.
You have a workout plan?
Is that a real smile or a smile?
Shepherd's birthday was yesterday. It's always.
And a light
Our
up.
band is
Okay, I was like,
sad.
well, what is
I was able to get from Peter.
Marshmallow.
Yeah, I was just scared. One day, it's like, Peter, because it's
I'm trying to figure it out for at least 3 weeks.
Ryan was driving
Something
on
started
like
melting
one
while I
load.
was driving.
He wanted to take the football and it's from Ryan. We can't.
So you don't have a vehicle that you can all travel?
No, so we go in,
Just completely freaked
borrow a
out.
truck.
He like
Yeah,
stood in front of the car and
Yeah,
the
yeah,
pig,
yeah.
she like gets him, take him
cars
up
are quick.
and put started to walk breakfast. You do a pole and nobody could get him. Just like,
Did you get like
calm
a,
down.
like a whole, like office truck?
You
Get
just
some
put
guy
that
and
football.
a
You know, I used to
And
ride
the
bread
teacher was
truck.
like,
I used to ride in
hey,
the
you should bring
front,
toys.
flower
I'm
truck.
like, next time.
But they, yeah, it was like really old. Just had a seat, a seat. They would just take a folding chair and put it in the middle. Just had a folding chair in that box truck. And I can't believe that was so cool. Yeah.
We used to ride,
Somebody illegal.
we used to ride on our trips, 8 hours or so. My dad had a truck, came from that, and he had
Without a
a
meltdown.
piece of wood put in the front with a mattress on it. And we would lay back there and we would play, and we'd knock on the window if we ever had to go to the bathroom or something. But we just played back there the whole time. I'm thinking, how did we not die?
My cousin went fishing, and I asked my dad, I was like, is that legal? He's like, no.
And we did it all the time. I mean, we'd lay back there and we'd play.
That seatbelt, that
We didn't have
we
seatbelts.
didn't have seatbelts. Like that was how old we are. They didn't have, well, I guess they had car seats for babies. Nobody else. No, that's opera. I mean,
Then we had a station wagon and we would
You ride in the back.
climb over all the seats, ride in the very back, climb
That was the best
over.
place that you make faces.
Yeah.
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 We were watching some show or some station wagon, Freddie was like, the station wagon would be a great car for our family. Let's bring
Yeah.
back the family.
Especially the ones that had fake lid on the
We
side.
had-
That's what we had.
Our neighbors had one of them named it.
Yeah. But in the very back, it could be flat, then you could fold up seats like that, like bench seats.
Yeah.
I was assisted in.
We also had like whatever was like convenience, like call flowers in the funeral home. So station wagon was perfect. Built flowers in. So, like baseball games and all that. We'd have 5, 6 kids in there facing all the wrong directions.
Right.
A old 15 passenger church van. We started going to Colorado in the summer. Here, I ended up figuring out how to move one seat and turn like the front seat to face the other seat. You could play cards. Did that. But it wasn't really very secure. And I didn't really make anybody wear seats.
Did you go to Wilderness Church?
Yeah.
I rode on a church run to do it, and then I heard other people
Yeah.
Days.
through.
We would
Flat.
be like 5 or 6. But I do it again. Get there.
Straight on.
Yeah.
Steak.
nobody else really wanted to drive.
You had to have a seatbelt.
I'm talking about that Steve Weaver drive. And I'm asleep. And like, when you're driving that long, you can't take a lot of whatever. And I woke up, and we were in the neighborhood. We'd gotten off the interstate. What are you in the neighborhood? Carrie Underwood's house. Somewhere in Oklahoma. That's all we can do to get to the hotel by midnight. And you're looking for Carrie Underwood. What happened?
Nice being the smallest person. Long. It was like, it was 12 or 15 times. There'd always be like, step down.
Yeah.
I would just like, tuck myself in like a blanket. Yeah. And then, I mean, there was only ever like 7 or 8 out. Like, we would all find a place to like, 2 or 3 people would be like underneath all the seats, you know? The seniors could be on the seats, but like everybody else.
I was not a great like this was my chances.
Yeah, I think
That 26 passenger bus, you know, it had like luggage. They go there, and some people slept up there. Parents today they would fire me. When we got that little TV, you could watch movies. That was a game. Tell them how many times I've not watched. I've been driving, listened to Nacho Libre, Elf.
Go to.
Yeah.
Like walls go out the window.
You're just trying to survive. It's a good. I mean, there's always funny things that happen. Frustrating at the time, but we'll laugh about later. Were you on that St. Louis trip where we had to sleep in the lobby?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
We had chairs like this.
That was one of 2 times.
That's one of the maddest I've ever been. I tried to save some money, and I booked a hotel in St. Louis. Hotwire, I don't even know if they're still open, you know. But I got there, and they were like, I mean, we got there like late, 11 o'clock at night. We had 5 feet.
And he had called that morning to confirm and
I confirmed
everything.
with them. I think what happened is, I don't know if it's a hotel's fault. They gave our rooms away, probably to people who were paying more than what we got at this discounted price. And like I don't, what am I going to do? And so they
Ballroom.
yeah, it was like their breakfast ballroom, and we're like,
line these chairs up, just like
we had
We slept in a room like this.
we had 2 cots. And Linda and Gerald Harville slept in 2 cots. And the rest of us, we had dirty tablecloths. And we all slept in one room together, but we didn't sleep. And then when the next morning, as people checked out, they would come get us. And you could go to this room that hadn't been cleaned and take a shower. Because we were leaving that morning to go to a youth
Jackson, were you on that?
That's a little bit after your time.
Yeah, Caleb, I remember Caleb Payne across the room. Kept talking, and I was like, I did too. It's 2 in the morning and we're all in here and you have got to be quiet.
And then we tried to go to this all-day youth rally and stay away.
That was like
We did.
Tried to lock it out.
Trauma block.
It's only
We
been
were all-
recently that I've been able to talk about
Danny
it.
and me and two of the hotel people, somebody else, all on our phones calling every hotel in St. Louis. There was 2 big conventions. There was nothing. We were calling everywhere to find rooms, and there was none anywhere. And the lady finally said, you know, we can let y'all sleep here. We're like, we just need to sleep. So we slept on the floor, and it was terrible.
I was on the phone with Potwire for an hour and a half.
And then they said,
And then finally they said, well, I'll tell you what we can do.
Mr. Sorrell,
We can give you $75 hot bucks for your next stay.
and that's when they said,
If there weren't people around, I think I would have scratched them out.
And they gave
Oh, wow. Let me tell you what I can do.
all the way.
But,
Was it $2
All the way to.
I will, my bad.
Tom Graham, pleasure room.
130.
Well, she had.
Yeah, $75. I remember Jared Short is one of the first ones that got up and took a shower. Like the rooms hadn't been cleaned, and he found some clothes that were left, and he asked me if he could have them. I said, "Fine, I'll take them." You know how he was about clothes. Whatever. Okay. Brought that up. All right, thank y'all for being here. I know this is the fall break part 2 for some, but we're going to start our class again as we've been in Deuteronomy chapter 6, reading verses 4 through 9. And as we talked about before, like this, these verses are so important because this is Moses. He's given this, like this is his last speech before he dies, before they go into the promised land. And this whole, 40 years they've been in the wilderness, and they've relied on God to provide for them every day. And if he didn't provide for them, they weren't going to eat. They weren't going to have anything to drink, but he's taking care of them. And so they've depended on him. And now they're going into this land described as a land flowing with milk and honey. Like they're going to be drinking wells they didn't dig. They're going to be living in houses they didn't build. And I think Moses knows that there's going to be the potential for them to forget about God. And for a generation grow up not even knowing God. And so this is so important. And actually we see that in the book of Judges. Like after the death of Joshua and his generation, like a whole nother generation grew up not even knowing God. They ended up just doing whatever was right in their own sight, which is chaos. During the darkest times in history. And so this is really important, and really the focus of Moses is talking about is impressing these truths about who God is on your children. So let's read 4 through 6, Deuteronomy chapter 6. That's 4 through 6, 4 through 9. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. These commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, when you get up. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frames of your houses and on your gates. And as we've said, the other thing I really like about this is we're not trying to add something to your already busy schedule. This is about being intentional and strategic about the times that are already built into the rhythm of the day. When you wake up, when you go to bed, when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you travel, like all those are built into the day. Take advantage of those times. I also like it that when he addresses the people, he's addressing all of Israel. And we might think this is just about parents, but he's talking to the whole nation, really the whole nation. And you say today, the whole church has a responsibility to this next generation to make sure that they know and love Jesus, love God with all their heart. And when he talks about like these commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts, Like, why would he even start with that? Why is that important? It can't just be about the next generation, because these have to be on your heart. What's that about?
Hard to pass something down that you don't cherish for yourself.
Yeah. You can't give your kids what you don't have. And I don't know what your parents maybe gave you or didn't give you in terms of faith. But one thing I've noticed about kids is like they know what's real in your life. They have a front row seat to our good days and our bad days, and they know if this is just something that you're doing because it's what we do in the South. They know whether this is real.
I like one of the emphasis that they're saying here too is this is just in your normal day. This is not like he says here, I used to think I had to get all my stuff done and then plan this spiritual activity, plan this devotional, plan this time. And it's not that. And he calls that very freeing because it's just got to be what's normal. It's just got to be in the rhythm of the day. And so it's not adding something to, it's just who you are and how your life goes. And just be comfortable with the messy meal, be comfortable with the difficult bedtime. Realize that in those times, you're forming them spiritually. And that's what's most important. And the little things that you don't even think are making a difference. Like I said last week, our meal time, we did it and we did it intentionally, but didn't realize till they're grown how important it was to them and what a difference it made. And it was just a mealtime. It was just a normal thing. It wasn't something that was planned out. Now, we did try to plan the devotionals, and that was kind of fun some and then kind of very stressful at other time, hit and miss. But it's the little normal things in the day-to-day life that really do matter. And I think that's got to be freeing to a parent to say, I don't have to add something else. What more?
And what's exciting is for those of you that have really young children, like you can start off this way. I don't think we thought a lot about that when our kids were very young. But you can start off and create what is a new normal, and they won't know, that you're doing anything different. And I also think about like we're so big about compartmentalizing our lives. Like here I'm at. This is home. This is work. This is church. This is school. And like the Christian life really doesn't have those same kind of compartments. Did y'all ever have like those lunch trays that had the little compartments? Like this is where your pizza went. This is where your milk went. All the kind of stuff. And so they didn't touch. I think we kind of live our lives like people who go to church on Sunday, but what we do on Sunday should overflow into every area of our life, every day of our life, every day of the week. And so I think this is about, when he talks about impress this on your children, how is that different than just telling them? Why is it not enough to just tell them that the Lord is God?
If you ever have anything made out of love and it actually has an impression, a symbol or something like stamped into it, like a few things that like initials or something. The difference between something that is impressed on it, then like the gold printed like cursive letters on your Bible, like that rubs off, but something that's impressed, it's like there's long leather's intact. So it's like one doesn't boy.
You know this with children, like you can't just tell them something one time and expect it to stick. Or two, like, and you can't just do it for 1 year.
And they have to know why. You can't just tell them to do something. So why do I have to do this? What's behind it?
They need to see you
Yeah.
doing things that are complementary to that. Press them. Talk about it. That's hard for a lot of people to have. Like we can talk about a lot of things, but to have spiritual conversations, it shouldn't be as difficult or as awkward as it is. times. It should be normal. So talk about them. So we talked about them when you sit at home. We talked about that as maybe being the equivalent today of dinner, mealtime. When you wake up, pretty obvious, having a morning routine. We talked about when you lie down, a bedtime routine, and maybe a bedtime blessing. So we talked last week about the mealtime chapter, which is went through that a little bit. Chapter 2, let's look at that again. First, so anybody have any stories or failures or success in trying to incorporate some different habits in the morning, your morning routine, in your evening routine, or your mealtime routine? Mealtime routine might be the hardest of those three. I don't know. What would you say? There's more chaos in the morning, evening, mealtime. Mealtime might be harder in terms of conflict of what's going on. Is there a time that's better? They're all pretty different.
That's hardest for me because things are gone.
It's the end of the day and you're running on them. Has anybody tried a bedtime blessing I think one of the things that he talked about, which is kind of sounds easier, is, tuck him in or whatever, and then go stand outside the door and pray for him. He kind of sounded like I kind of get out of here and pray. But, notice some of you talked about doing that, praying with your child, even when they're really young and they don't understand what you're saying or what you're doing, like they get that something has happened. It's a connection. Anybody having bedtime mishaps or little
I think
wins?
it's better to say, does anybody not have any bedtime?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really not, which Reese will say it with us, like, for but his favorite part here is Kingdom, and yesterday, or I don't remember what day it was.
Get ready to go to war.
He was, I was like, I don't think you, but we're outside the house. He was here yelling 15 and the power was blurry. And that's the only part he said as he was walking through the house.
Yeah.
I wish I could go back camera video, but just knowing that he's starting to pick up on all the stuff I'm saying. But otherwise, he does really good with it.
Yeah.
He's 4, so.
Yeah.
Guys.
That's right. And that's the thing is don't get frustrated. It doesn't work well. Don't give up on yourself. You lose your temper. Okay.
A little win. We'll see.
Over time. The other mealtime. The morning routine. He talked about, maybe we're talking about like just saying a prayer. Like first thing you do, say a prayer. To read a scripture for yourself personally before you touch your phone or check your email or anything like that. And then he talked about kind of like I kind of imagine it more like a coach in a huddle and hold hands and pray or whatever, and just like we're going to start the day and send them off with this message about who we are and who God is. Anybody have any morning routines?
My mornings are really chaotic, as are nights, things. But mornings for me are hard just because they're coming me to my job, which makes it kind of difficult for me to get into my routine, or just different than what I was used to. So Adam helps get them all in there. And I don't know if it's like 12 plus, but I always play The Goodness of God when we say a prayer. And now it's gotten to be if I don't play it, they'll say, "Where's that song?" My older will start pulling it up, and Nash is yelling, "Goodness of God!" And so it's just, but it's more peaceful. You know, like, I mean, we listen to it the whole way. I'll say, who wants to say our morning prayer? And if nobody says, then I say it. Like, you know, it's not a big fight. It's just whoever wants to say it says it. We say it. And then chaos.
Yeah.
Walking into school. But it is peaceful for that time, and it's just become our routine. Like, we don't fight. I mean, we do fight, but, like, it's not, we have to have breakfast or it's like grab the Cheez-Its, grab your peanut butter crackers, grab whatever is in that pantry. Kids just go, like, I try not to fight stuff anymore, whereas used to. That was like, and we had to communicate. That was a big piece, is like, I was letting things frustrate me that I was like, got to tell, like, and if I didn't tell him, he didn't know how frustrated I was getting in the moments of walking into school, getting them out. It's just a task itself to get in there. But we've with them. Not with them. Teamwork. It is definitely teamwork.
I know we've shared that our morning routines are super chaotic now, because there used to be 4 kids that were homeschooled and only 2 that go to school, and now 6 kids all are getting out the door. And our van that carries all the children is broken. And so we have to go in 2 shifts, which is often very necessary, because not everyone's ready at the same time. But like before they went up to school, I was so thankful for doing this study, because it made me think like, oh, there's ways to have intentional moments if you're not 24/7, which I had always been, but at least with some of them. And so I like wrote this blessing that we're going to say, I mean, that we say over them, and like Ryan sometimes jokes does it, but
I don't ever remember the right words, so I just kind of freestyle every time.
Okay, but one of the parts is like, I love you no matter what. God loves you no matter what. You are more than your failures. You are more than your successes. And like, our kids have had some failures and some successes since they've started school, whether it's like in sports or whatever. And so I'm just like thankful for having some foresight to like, so they hear, but like how important it is for them to hear some certain principles of life over and over. So they're like, oh, it's not just like, I'm not defined by this moment that I did that and got yelled at on the football field, and like that's not who I am. And so whatever things that are important, like Deuteronomy 6, like kids are hearing them, then they hear them, and maybe I hope they hear them in their minds when something happens. And so I think that's the point, like it's in your heart, and we're putting it in their hearts. And I remember a college student came to our house, and we were talking about some things, and she was talking through some, like, well, we were talking about this one issue, and I just kept hearing this voice in my head that was like, this is probably the right thing. And I was like, your parents have worked really hard to put that voice in your head, and like, I hope you agree with it. Sometimes you will maybe create your own voice, but like, is putting in their heart. It seems that it needs to be repetitive and like constant, and that's the habits.
Yeah. If we really do become, our habits really do shape us. What about mealtime? If you haven't read the chapter begins with him, a story of taking his kids to a restaurant and just how chaotic that can be. What about your mealtime? Are you able to eat together? Are you able to have a routine at that meal where there's conversation? And there'll always be chaos. But that probably is could be a time when they're more talkative. Maybe too much.
Let me start with this because I love this. He said the families who were spiritually vibrant shared one amazing thing in common. They had loud tables. So it's okay. It's okay to have loud tables. It's okay to have chaos. You're there together. That's the point.
That was the study about how kids that were in a family where they ate together on a fairly regular basis, like were more successful in so many different, more healthy in so many different measures. That seems like that's really challenging today, isn't it? So much going on. There's so many more opportunities. They're all pretty good opportunities too. You just can't do it. It has to be a priority.
Also, now that our kids are starting to get in practices a couple days a week while they're younger, like we could split up sometimes. He's not home, but we try to, like has practice on Thursday. We all go to her practice. It'd be easy for Jackson to stay home. And like whatever. But if it's a night like that, maybe our kids while they're young, it's still whatever aren't doing separate things on separate nights. We generally all go, so just still trying to have a little bit together time, even.
It's also good that like siblings could support each other in those things.
Well, sometimes we'll split, I'm sure, but.
He also, so a couple of other things he said that I think were really good about dinner time, and it's going to be chaos, but as much as you can help them, or you can have them help you in either preparing or setting the table and cleaning up, even though it'll be far more work than if you could just do it yourself.
And it's usually not done to my standards.
No, it won't be done to your standards.
That's even higher.
Yeah, I mean that.
You feel that. I'm working through that. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do that later.
Yeah. But probably maybe in that moment, maybe not every time, but maybe in that moment, it's more important that they're involved on some level than it being done at your level, which is really hard for some people to they need to understand that there was this meal didn't just appear and it doesn't just clean up itself. Like even just washing dishes or teaching them how to love the dishwasher, like so that when they finish the meal, it doesn't need to be just like, oh, I'm going to do my thing. No, let's stay together. Let's everybody share and let's clean up together.
My dad sends Facebook videos. 7 a day, probably 7 a day.
About parenting?
About parenting or like dad. Or
like passive aggressive.
Yeah. But I finally watched it. And one of them was that just kind of see adults doing like household chores as play. So they see us loading the dishwasher or something as our activity, as our play. And that kind of changed my perspective. Like they see us working on it, loading the dishwasher, cooking dinner or something. And they want to participate. They want to play with us, basically. It's kind of changed how I view. I'm wondering how I incorporate it to do it, helping, whether it's good or bad, especially with young.
We got Jack this tower just standing on the right next to the counter. He's 15. And at Andy's house, it's his mother's house. He has one of those stand next to you and put little towers you can stand up. So we got one in our house. It's by the light switch, so our kitchen's like a rave. We're cooking. And the other day, it's right next to the trash too, so trash. And I gave him a towel the other day and showed him how to wipe. And so he's doing that.
Yeah.
I also have unintentional dishwasher. Well, mostly just the silverware. But he's only 15 months old, so you can imagine how slow.
Yeah.
Pulls out one spoon and looks at it, and then he'll hand it to me to put it away.
Also, too, I think like this study has helped us just kind of like center our family around Christ life, and I've been like really busy lately on the road doing a bunch of different stuff, and so our family was just kind of getting back together. Millie was on fall break, and I got back the other day and I just heard Amelia singing to Jack. It was like I can't remember which song it was. It was probably like Jesus Lives or something. And I was like, I'm very happy for this. It just brought so much more of that.
It's really just about just thinking about your day in a little different way. Just a little small change, small habit, just one thing. Like unloading the dishwasher. Just one thing could for time actually be a very big and powerful thing. What else about milk?
Randy, one of the on time,
Okay.
but one of the things about us having Oakley now, I'm more intentional about making it more Christ-centered. And I should have been before, but now I think yes, I mean, she was around believers and had been, but not like a week or talking about God. More intentional, really. And like, it's just, I mean, I should have done, and we did, but now it's just, I really think about it. I think also Jesus to her, where I think she said she used to, her mother used to sing "You're My Sunshine," and now like I hold her, she'll say, "Sing Jesus loves you." Just hear those words all the time and talk all the time with her, because she lost doctors, like she didn't have that for 5 years. It's just interesting, like it's just a different perspective. I guess I have in there.
It's really cool. Like Amelia taught Jack this song. It's Pat Bible 1, 2,
I
3.
think he's going Bible,
Oh,
but
okay.
he will get my Bible or his little children's Bible and bring one, and I have to say that.
Yeah.
He likes it too. Yeah, I think that was.
It makes me so grateful
Yeah.
for that, though.
Yeah.
You know, I was not.
Yeah.
I like go bigger. First.
And you know, and even as hard as it is to get up to even bring your kids to Bible class, you know, like those are opportunities. I'm not trying to make anybody feel guilty about anything, but we think a little bit more about that opportunity and understand, like, those kids are getting more than you think, learning more than you think, and they might not have all the stories right yet, but they're learning some big concepts that probably carry with them their life.
Brody's in high school, and he hasn't been to or like traditional school since first grade. Well, not first grade. He was in homeschooled, and like we've always Bible class and done all the things, but I feel like we've tried to be like not super legalistic because we were in some legalistic environments, and so just kind of like you figure out some things on your own. And the other day he was like, "Oh, I've gone to this like Christian club meeting thing on Friday mornings like the past 3 weeks," and I was like, "Really? I didn't even know that." And he's like, "Yeah, it's happening," and I'm like there on time, and so it's pretty cool. And I was like, I feel like it was a thing that probably would have been like, "Oh, you should go to this club. This is where all the Christians are gathering." And like I didn't even know when it was happening. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've gone to this thing like 3 weeks in a row." Like, good job, she's that on your own, but she's just choose to be parts of the groups that I'd heard about it and thought, "Oh, go to that," and then I never did.
One of the other things he says in this chapter about mealtime that some of you, I think, already do very well is it's just the idea of opening your home and practicing hospitality. Like the difference that can make to children. Like, so it's we've got our focus of our family, our nuclear family, but you know, I mean, Charleston Square, that's a completely
We really
different.
take advantage of Charleston Square's hospitality.
That's almost cult-like. Not really.
Only
But they're running everywhere.
houses that don't.
Yeah. But
You're gonna have to rename.
but like thinking beyond just your family, because your kids. I said this. I've always said this about kids when they were a little older. Like, you're not the only adults that your kids need in their life. As much as you can to bring in other people into your family, into your home, at your table, that share some of the same convictions and values you have. Like, that's only going to reinforce what you're doing. You need adults in your kids' life who are saying the same things that you're saying, because they'll hear them differently when they say it. So thinking about ways to invite other people into your home. And he talked about, what was it, maybe it was a college student. He was talking about this young guy that, you know, he was away from home and he was just like looking for build some friendships. And so like, what was it, like one night a week, it was whatever his name is, like Uncle Drew, like he became Uncle Drew. And they would have him over, you know.
We had one of those. We were just that, you know, he's from Africa and they have very different concept of time. And one thing, like, as everybody goes around saying things, everything, like, it resonates with me is like, I'm intentional, because I'm trying to be or thinking about or whatever, all these things. And hospitality is not always the easiest thing in our little world. And he will just walk to our house, call or anything. So it's like, it's 5:30, we're about to sit down, like, need to get another plate. We're going to need to stop doing this thing, or like whatever. And so I think that the hospitality part for me is about slowing down and like when you're unintentionally able to be hospitable all of a sudden, to like have a little bit of margin, not become so wide open that you can't get into it.
I think if he texted and said like, "Hey, it's a good time to come over,"
I
sometimes
say
the answer
no.
would be like, "Hey, no, maybe tomorrow." Holler us in. But when he just shows up and you can't say like, "Sorry, not a good time," it causes us to be like, "All right, come on in." Yeah. And also it's like, "Everyone be quiet."
Quit yelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that with. This just good. Like, I love this book. It's just so practical and simple. All right, so next week we're gonna have to jump around a little bit because the video and the book don't follow each other. Next week we're gonna look at family devotions. What chapter that is? We'll send that out. So, because in the video, meal times and family devotions are together. So next week let's read this week let's read the chapter on family devotions, and that will be our discussion for next Sunday. Sound good? All right. Thank y'all very much.
Go on.
Maybe trying to bring a frisbee up.
Confiscated it.
It's like, bring a frisbee.
It might have. Yeah, Here.
Well, we just got back, and look, I wore my
And
then decided to take it off.
No.
Take it back.
No. Yeah. I told him I would.
Okay.
Send in the communion people back saying, please stay away from.
Brian had to be back.